So now that I've had the time to contemplate what's going to happen in my next 10 years of life, I'm excited to talk about something more fun and uplifting, which is all about arts with Mary Lacy.
Welcome!
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So for those who don't know about Mary Lacy's amazing murals, they can be seen at like thedealer.com, Silos, the Hummingbird on the corner of St. Paul and
College.
Yeah.
College. Okay, well, I'm trying my best.
Burlington is so hard to like know streets. It's just like it's that one that's there next to that.
Yeah,
There's
on
always
the corner,
landmark.
across from the park. Yeah,
It's
that's
the one
about
by
it.
the Hummingbird. That's what I said. Like
Yeah, it's not a landmark, honestly.
yeah, clearly.
And you're also featured up at UVM. Everywhere. All over the place.
Everywhere. So welcome, and tell us about how you got started doing all these murals, including, by the way, in Jericho,
Yeah.
the chicken.
That was
which
my
is
first
at your folks'
exterior. Yeah, it was on my parents' barn.
Place. It's a chicken.
I've seen the chicken.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
I got started right after college, pretty much. Though I didn't study art at all. I was interested in art in high school, but like I was doing small canvases, and I struggled with I saw the purpose of it for myself, like on a very personal level, but I let it go because I just didn't see it at that time. Now I can list off like so many reasons why art is important, but at that time I just didn't see it yet. And it wasn't until the very end of college that I was studying history and politics, and I came across this. I just refreshed myself and watched it today actually to prepare for this interview. It was like you're on the internet and Facebook, and then you click on one thing and you click on another thing, and this whole like trail ended up getting me to this TED Talk by the Prime Minister of Albania.
Okay.
Oh.
That's quite the journey.
Yeah, who was a artist before he was a politician, and he brought that as like an important platform to politics, and he just started like paint like the buildings in Tirana, Albania hadn't been like kept up at all since the USSR departed. That's kind of how he described it. It was like this vacuum, and then there wasn't any kind of upkeep, and it was these gray giant buildings that were falling apart, and he had no budget to actually renovate them, and so he just like jumped in and started painting this like gray building this super bright orange, and everybody stopped, like, and it was like this traffic jam outside of this building. Everybody like suddenly was paying attention, and he painted a lot, and it just created this like it was this visible change, like a new era that people were going into, and so it really like brought this spirit of hope that like, and people just started participating in politics. They felt like they could contribute, and just like the uplifting bright colors. So that like TED Talk, in that moment, I was like, I'm gonna be a muralist. I'm gonna do it. I came home and painted a mural on my parents' barn, which was the chicken, and that was nerve-wracking because it was like right in public. I made this like barrier so that nobody could see me as I was doing it until afterwards. But it was cool. Like they're in Jericho. I would not say it's known for like murals or street art, and the number of people that stopped and the number of people that get out and take pictures of it, or like people tell me like, oh, every day I look for it on their drive home. So you could see the impact.
Well, but it's cute because right across the village, the Clarys have their sculptures.
Yeah, and
so it's like it's creating almost like
Totally.
this really cool little art vibe in tiny little Jericho Center.
Every time I'm always like, oh, what does his letters
Yeah.
say today? It was believed for a really long time. He has these giant letters, and then
Yeah,
just recently
shout
it
out
switched to Be Love.
Oh, cute. Yeah, shout out to Chris Cleary. Maybe we should have him on and
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
his Jericho art. But anyway, that I do love that, and I love that that's sort of like the first. That was how you started with all these murals, and it's like it always goes back to the chicken, which is really cute that that's like in your hometown and everything.
Yeah.
So I was made familiar with you through your work with the Moran Plant, and that is a really cool story. I don't know if we want to go so deep into it, but because I don't even know where that is right now in the stages of development. But
yeah, that came right after the chicken. Some friends of mine and I like put on a huge event at my parents' house. My dad was a farmer. He's not anymore, but cattle farmer. So we had a cow roast where we roasted a whole cow and cleaned out my parents' barn, which hadn't happened in like 20 years, and made an art gallery. And so somehow the Moran team heard about that event, and that's how I met them. I saw it as a pretty reciprocal platform. One, it was a very public place, so I would be able to get my name out. And two, like really kind of wanted to test these things I was reading about of like changing the way people see things, or like giving that sense of hope to a space. So I knew nobody was ever gonna, not that many people get to see it inside the Moran Plant. So the final product to me was always a video, always the photos. So when people ask about like the murals themselves deteriorating, I don't feel that attached to them. I don't, it's
so
kind of a temporary.
So the Moran Plant's like it was a former utility plant in Burlington, right on the waterfront.
Yeah.
And now it's just sort of in, just there. It's just vacant. And Mary did all these murals. It was like really cool. Some of them were like you were standing in water when you were painting them.
Yeah,
correct?
I wanted to like turn on a sense of imagination in the space. So for me, literally that was like envisioning it as a natural habitat. And the flooded basement was like to me, felt like a really still pond because like the water was completely
stagnant.
Yeah. And when you see a heron, you kind of see a heron like across a pond. You don't ever get super close to it. So I climbed down in there and like far off where you can walk in the basement here because it was like above the flooded area, but I crossed into that and like painted a heron right there. So that felt, to me, when I look back on that memory, it's like pretty exemplary of my determination. I was like, I'm gonna do this at whatever cost. But yeah, it was like turning on a sense of imagination in there, and hopefully that then could translate into what people could see this as, like a event space or a farmers market space or restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, and they used it in all their promotion for trying to develop a plan for this space, which was cool.
That's awesome. I know that we were talking about flooded basements before coming into this shoot today.
We did talk about flooded basements.
So I'm glad that we could have this connection here with the heron.
Just imagine herons and reeds and like
herons and
marshes.
reeds
Those suddenly,
and marshes and a nice marsh in that flooded basement.
Yeah.
Awesome. And your murals are so notable with the geometric designs. You see them, you know that it's a Mary Lacy original. So where did you get the inspiration to do these, bringing in the geometry, the shapes?
When I was really little, I really liked origami. So when I was doing my first murals, in high school I painted very realistically, or tried to, and then when I was doing murals, somehow I wanted to abstract it. I felt this need to abstract it in that space, and I was just thinking about origami, like if there was an origami hummingbird, like what would the different planes be, or where would the folds go? And then I actually it's crazy, I look back at like my sketchbooks from even when I was young, like I really, there's shapes everywhere in there, like that was just that's something that I didn't notice before.
So you have a connection with, was it Sherwin Williams? No.
Benjamin Moore.
Oh damn.
Oh.
I'm sure all the execs are watching. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
But for a major paint company, so you were almost like sponsored by them?
Yeah.
And they like put you on tour almost.
Yeah.
You
so
took your Mary Lacy van.
Yeah. I just got back like a few weeks ago and had taken off in September. I got a connection through the Vermont Paint Company in Burlington. They are their independent store and they just sell Benjamin Moore paint. And I said, do you have like a corporate contact that would at all be interested in? At first I just wanted free paint.
Yeah.
And they said yes to that and that they then wanted to like document it. And I said, well, one, I have my own videographer, like one of my best friends. So you have to hire him because I trust him. And two, like if you could sponsor more of, pay for my gas or pay for, all those things, like they covered the costs of the tour. But I wanted to keep like control over where I went, who I worked with, all of that was completely me. And it was a lot of responsibility to find all those murals.
Yeah, because you went to some like far out places like Alabama, right?
Yeah. Mississippi,
so far out.
yeah.
But like literally,
Yeah,
like how
no,
does
they
like
were-
a move, like how do you connect with a
Yeah.
place in Alabama to do these like random,
I never did one in Alabama, but
Mississippi. Really, what's
yeah.
the difference?
Geography.
Should we get into this? We did the
Yeah.
whole geography thing before.
We have
won't
some
do that.
difficulties.
It's probably
with
that's what they say
geography.
about New Hampshire and Vermont.
Yeah,
so I'm
people
sure
don't
that
even know that Vermont's
down
on
there
there,
they
yeah.
get pretty defensive about it,
Probably.
like we would.
So in Mississippi.
Every single mural. There has been 8 so far. I have 1 left in Bethel, Vermont. But every single mural was completely different in terms of how it got organized. But often I just was a lot of cold emails, cold calls, and just telling my story, saying like, do you want a free mural? But I would reach out to I would research and find organizations or community organizers that I really admired or thought, from what I researched on them, and just people that were really committed to their community, and that was a wide range. It was arts organizations, youth organizations, a small business in Savannah that was a used art supply store, totally different across the board, and just one by one they all kind of fell into place. But it was incredible. It was like, and I started to really, as the organizing went on, feel like I really wanted to go to smaller places, and one, because I'm from a small place, I felt kind of I felt more comfortable there, and I also just allowed for like this randomness, or like,
Yeah, obviously you probably found these places, like you found the TED Talk from the Prime Minister of Albania.
Yeah,
like,
you're just
you can get anywhere.
Yeah. And
surprised you
like-
weren't doing a mural in Albania. Like,
one day I really want to go there.
make it happen, Benjamin Moore.
And they were random, but they were like consistent with these just national issues that were going on. Like,
Right.
I was in Greenville, Mississippi, a couple, for 2.5 weeks or something. I left just like the day before the election, and I was in an African American community there, and there was a church burning of an African American church 5 blocks from where I was working, and it said "Vote Trump." They spray painted "Vote Trump" on it, and to me, it was like to see these national.
Yeah, was that that was picked up by national news?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
But there had been many prior that hadn't been picked up by national news, and that in Greenville, nobody else around me was surprised by that. I think just now that news can spread so fast.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it seems like you're getting a strong connection with these different communities that you're coming into, whether it's because they're these small communities that you're used to,
Yeah.
or it's the same as coming back to Vermont and supporting those youth communities or those community organizers that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And speaking about bringing it home, you recently did a fundraiser for Outright Vermont.
Yeah.
With beautiful T-shirts of the state of Vermont. Can you, for those who haven't seen it, what is the design on there?
It's the state of Vermont, but it's also a map of Burlington. So I kind of looked at like the Google Maps or a map and made a shape for every block, for every city block. And then just cut the outline like around the Vermont. And it's from a design that I did like a year and a half ago for the recycling containers for CSWD.
Oh yeah. Art of
recycling.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, that the map of on there covered like when it was like didn't have the outline of Vermont, but that's where that came from. And I just I did it as I was nominated for the 7 Days Artist, and I felt like, I don't know, I feel like here I've been given a lot of chances, a lot of risks, a lot of support. People have taken a lot of risks on me, as I was fresh out of, or just new to everything. And I just feel really grateful. So I just felt like
It was a great campaign.
doing
I hope you win.
something out of gratitude.
And we'll see you at the Daisies Awards. That's the good news. Have you been to the Daisies Awards in August?
No.
So hopefully you're a winner, and hopefully you have a sash, and hopefully we get to take a picture with you there. And hopefully, how much did you end up raising during that campaign for Outright?
I think it's almost $2,000.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I need some help with the
gracious
math, but
Math is hard.
What-
I mean, we can't do geography, we also can't do math. So, but we definitely look forward to celebrating at the 7 Daisies Awards with you. And we're so happy that you were able to join us today to talk about all things art.
And activism.
And activism.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
thank you.